Okay, so let's begin. Just more so, rather than going into sort of a profound and in-depth understanding of what Vajrayana is, more so let's just have an outlook of what Vajrayana is. So Vajrayana builds on, as you know, Tashi Dele, good evening, come, please come sit. Builds on the foundation of Mahayana. And what makes Vajrayana unique as opposed to other schools is that we do not deny, nor do we skillfully avoid our negative emotions. Rather, one beautiful aspect of Vajrayana is that whatever kind of emotion that arises, even if it's negative, we learn to confront it, deal with it, and transform it into wisdom so that it enhances not just our lives in a better way, but more so it enhances our practice and our understanding of Buddhism. That's one of the most beautiful aspects of Vajrayana, and that's what sets us apart. Now, of course, we have three main traditions in our Nyingma as far as Vajrayana from point of view. One is karma, that's the oral transmission. Then we have dharma, which is the hidden transmission, which is revealed by wisdom beings. And then also we have what is called the dhanam, which is the direct transmission from Guru Rinpoche, Yeshe Sogel, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that we receive, of course, again, from wisdom beings, and they in turn reveal that Dharma to us. And that's what makes Vajrayana very unique. Now, when we're in the Vajrayana, we have to understand that it's either sink or swim. No two ways about it. If you're in the Vajrayana, then you're fully dedicated. Therefore, all teachers will tell you, when you enter this path, think very carefully if you're ready for it or not. Because there's no other way. If you enter this path, you have to enter it with complete dedication. You have to make an effort. Without effort, there's no result. Another thing that's important as we are on this Vajrayana path is to understand that intention and motivation is also very important in the Vajrayana path. So there's this story of this man in the village in Tibet. He was walking in the mountains and it started drizzling. And as he was going on the pathway, he comes across the tattva of the Buddha. And tattvas, you know what it is, back in Tibet it was made of mud. So it had image of the Buddha. And he sees that it's drizzling and he thinks to himself, oh, if I don't do something about this, this tattva is going to disintegrate. So he takes off his stinky, dirty shoes, then he places it on top of the tattva and he goes on his way. And what happens later on? Because of his action, he gains realization because his intention was pure. Now, another man comes along, sees this boot and sees this half tattva coming out, and he says, oh my God, oh, I shouldn't have put God in this actually. Oh my Lord. Forgive me, I was brought up in a Christian school, Catholic school, because I would tell people I had the Lord's Prayer by heart. And time to time you'll hear me saying, oh Jesus Christ, good Lord, heaven help me. So these are the expressions I grew up with. So I know I have to be a little bit aware of not using them during Dharma talks, but habits die hard. So he sees this and he says, oh my Lord, whoever put this here is going to pay a terrible price. Didn't he or she realize that this is tattva of the Buddha? How could he have done or she have done something like this? So he removes the shoe. And he says, oh, not only did he put a shoe on top, but he put such a stinky shoe of his, so disgusting. This person is bound to go to the depths of hell for what he did. He removed it. And of course, in the result, the Tata disintegrated. But even yet, he also gained realization. So this story tells us that in the Vajrayana, the two most important things are intention and motivation. So this is very important. But intention and motivation alone are not enough. We also have to have wisdom. In the absence of wisdom, even though our intentions may be good, our motivations may be pure, our actions will be stupidity at best. For instance, say, I'm not going to take names, but there's this person who used to get his social security, and of course, out of the goodness of his heart, he used to go and buy pizzas for all the homeless people, you know. But in one day, he would finish all that money and distribute this pizza to all the homeless people in his neighborhood. That is a wonderful thing to do. But in the absence of wisdom, the next day, he has nothing to eat. He suffers, so he's living off of very little. He's getting no nutrition in his body because of what he was doing. But he was persistent, and getting sicker and sicker and sicker by the day, until he had a conversation with one of the teachers, and the teachers explained to him that although his actions were noble and very inspiring, nevertheless, in the absence of wisdom, he was causing harm to himself. And in the Vajrayana, you are as important as the other person that you're helping. Your happiness is as important as other people's happiness. This is very important thing to always understand. You don't have to be a doormat or a self-sacrificing person to be a good and a noble human being. You have to have wisdom, and in wisdom, you will be able to understand that there are many ways that we can skillfully navigate this path, but making sure that we are also taking care of ourselves, which is very important. Now, when you've connected with this path, it provides an opportunity for us to transcend our own limitations. Vajrayana gives you the courage to understand that you can awaken in this very lifetime. Again, this is one aspect that sets us apart, again, from the other paths. Building, again, as I said, on the foundation of Mahayana, where, of course, you're told to skillfully navigate all your negative emotions and such to avoid it. In the Vajrayana, you're told that you have to face these negativities that arise so that you can learn from it and you can take that negativity, transform it into wisdom, and use it as a means to understand your mind in depth and its profoundness so that you can create the spaciousness within your mind to awaken at this very lifetime. But as Vajrayana practitioners, we have to understand that you have to be a fearless warrior. It's important, not the kind of, I'm not talking about the war where you go and start arguing with your neighbors and your ex-girlfriends and ex-husbands and ex-boyfriend, not that kind of warrior, but the determination to overcome your own shortcomings, determination to face any obstacles that arises with resilience and confidence in the Dharma, and to understand that any situation that you face, whether it's negative or good, you can transform that into a wisdom aspect. So for instance, if I say something mean to you, tell you something that's very hurtful, it is only natural that you will be upset with me and angry. But if you're a Vajrayana practitioner, here is an opportunity. You'll see an opportunity to expand on what you already know as far as the Dharma is concerned, as far as relating to your own mind is concerned, as far as trying to taste your wisdom nature is concerned. This gives you many opportunities. One, you can react as any humans will react with anger and aversion. That is fine, as long as you're able to realize that this is not healthy or helpful to your own growth. Therefore, you can view this situation as, okay, here I have an opportunity to grow, to understand and put my practice, my Vajrayana practice into action. Therefore, I'm going to approach this with love and compassion and hope to gain some realization from this situation. All right, so I feel this pain. He called me an asshole. Okay. Just because somebody calls you an asshole doesn't make you an asshole. We all have assholes, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Doesn't make you an asshole. That's the truth. So the pain that I feel, this pain I commit not to cause on any other, my Dharma brothers and sisters, my family and friends. Just having thought of it in this way, you have transformed this into something that is called wisdom and insight. Also, understanding that holding on to this pain is injurious to you, you are able to realize that, that means your practice is also working. Because as Vajrayana practitioners, every situation, no matter what it is, we can use it to our advantage. For instance, if there's a poisonous tree, now I'm going to take liberties with the story because I don't know, I heard it when I was 13 or 14. I'm going to add my own 2 cents into the story. When certain people see a poisonous tree, for instance, the first reaction is some people will say, this is harmful. We've got to get rid of this tree. What do? Cut the tree. Another group of people see that this poisonous tree has been cut, but they're not satisfied. But their roots, that's the source of the poison. We've got to root it out and get rid of it completely. So what do? Take it and you root it out and you destroy it completely. But when we as Vajra practitioners come and see this poisonous tree, we have to have the realization that there's not just going to be one tree, there's going to be thousands of trees like this. So what do? So we take the fruit that is poisonous and we make an antidote to that poison so that when we encounter this poisonous tree or fruits, it doesn't cause us harm. So that is one of the viewpoints we as Vajra practitioners must have. Now, most teachers here have come and of course given you all so many teachings that are very important, Dzogchen teachings, meaningful teachings and so forth. And you've been able to connect with some you may not have been able to connect with. And so you actually here in the West, you're very lucky because you have a buffet of teachings you can choose from. Back in the days, even in Tibet, I believe it was very difficult because to travel and of the situation, it was just one lineage and usually people stuck with that lineage because there were no other options because it was very difficult to have a connection with the teaching. So here in the West, realize that since the fall of Tibet, with the teachers, all great wisdom teachers coming out of Tibet and into to India, and from India as a base coming here, especially through the West, you all had so much, especially the older generation, you had so much access to so many amazing Buddhas, actually, and you were able to connect with them, and able to receive so much insight and wisdom. But as the teachers were getting established and their popularity was increasing and the students were increasing, then that became more difficult and more difficult. And now we're in a situation where, as we were talking about up there in the room, where it's mostly online, or, if not in with other thousands and thousands of students, and you don't have that advantage anymore of having that personal relationship or connection like you had. So for those of you who've had this opportunity, realize how lucky you are. And especially when we are doing these kind of teachings also on Zoom, as I was just talking about it that time, it's like a double-edged sword. Because in one way, yes, Buddhism will flourish, teachings will flourish, people will be able to receive it. But making connection to the centers is going to be difficult, because if you can watch the teachings and things at the comfort of your sofa or wherever you are at home, why would you want to come into a Buddhist temple or Buddhist center and spend time with the Sangha and receive teachings in person from teachers? So now these days, and especially in the Vajrayana Buddhism, I can see the shift happening, as all of you can see this shift happening. But the beautiful thing about Vajrayana is it tells us everything is impermanent. We learn that nothing stays the same. Everything is in a constant state of change. And therefore, when things shift, we also shift and adapt and do the best that we can. Now here, for all of you belonging to the Sangha, you all have been so lucky that you have had this opportunity to make a connection to Jatra Rinpoche. As Vajrayana practitioners, one of the most important things is to make sure that your commitment, your samaya to your teacher is pure. And even at times, we're human beings and we are not going to be able to always keep to our commitments. And therefore, time to time, whether knowingly or unknowingly, we will be breaking these commitments. Nevertheless, if you do a daily practice of Chakpa, or what practice do you all do here? Chakpa practice you all do. Chakpa practice? Chakpa, confession practice. What do you all do here? Confession practice. Vajrasattva. So Vajrasattva is important to do the Vajrasattva practice. I don't know whether it comes from, if you're doing your own road, it's in there as well. So, but it's very important to keep up this Vajrasattva practice. As I was saying before also, that it's very important that all of you make sure that you keep up the work that you do according to how Jatra Rinpoche has instructed you to carry out your duties. Because now there's a huge responsibility on each and every one of your shoulders to carry on his aspirations. And therefore, realize that the next few years is going to be a huge test for all of you on how this is going to materialize. But if you have confidence in your Tsawi Lama, Jatra Rinpoche, if you have confidence in the Dharma, and of course, because of Rinpoche's blessings, everything will be good. It'll be okay. You'll be fine. But blessings are not enough. You have to make that effort. Because believe it or not, each and every one of you are actually the reason why the Dharma flourishes. told this many times, and I've said this to so many people, even making sure you do practice, even if it's just one line of practice, is making an effort to make sure that the lineage flourishes. Because even if that one singular line you don't do anymore, and then the Dharma dies here in the West. For new people coming in, because it's a new era, it's the world of Facebook and social media platforms and Twitter and Instagram. Nobody is interested anymore in reading more than one paragraph of anything. Nobody. So this is another obstacles that we are going to face, you're going to face, is how do we adapt to make sure that we continue, because even this chapter will close. Our time will come, will go, and new people will be in our place. And that's what samsara is, that's what life is. And right now it's okay, but eventually we have to also, not come to the realization and understand what the reality is that there'll be other people sitting there where you're sitting, there'll be other people sitting where I'm sitting, and it'll be a whole new chapter. So still, rather than worry about what's going to happen in the future, right now, the best we can do is at least during our time, and it doesn't matter how many minutes, days, years that we have left, that we dedicate ourselves. We take not just joy, but also make an effort in preserving what we have received and making sure that we do so for the future generation that comes after us, whether they accept it and will take it upon themselves and accept the responsibility. We don't know, I don't know, you don't know, we all don't know. But at least at this moment, as I'm speaking, from this moment till we take our last breath, because we've had the golden era of Buddhism here in the West during our time, especially through the elders here during your time, we know what it is like. We understand that. Now the new generation is not going to have that same connection like you all have had. So realize how lucky you have been, how lucky you are. And it's not a coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence here. Everything is karmically linked. You all have been linked to Jatara Rinpoche, even in your previous lives. And you will be linked to Jatara Rinpoche in your future lives. And that's how it's going to be. You're just not going to remember when we meet again. Who knows what we'll meet like. So the best we can do is at least us, we make an effort to make sure to keep the wisdom and enlightened activities of Jatara Rinpoche's still ongoing as it was. He's, of course, in one sense, we feel the loss and pain, but in another sense, he's never been separated from us. But we are human beings, we love and we attach. Then we cause ourselves pain, right? Every Lama will tell you, even the highest of highest Lamas will tell you non-attachment, that's bullshit. Even they cry when they teach us dissolve into the Nirmanakaya form. They'll even sit on the throne, oh, he was such a great person, But the beautiful thing about the wisdom beings is they're able to understand that there are other people that are depending on them, and then that they have a purpose here, and therefore they move on with more devotion and they make more effort to make sure that the Dharma flourishes. So in the same regard, as much as the pain is there, you all have to now move on and make sure that you make an effort, especially now. If any differences that has happened in the past between yourself and your Dharma brothers and sisters, set it aside. There's not much time left. Look around you, we are all in our middle ages, I think. I'm also about to hit 50. I can't believe it, but I feel like 21. But that's the reality we are in right now. And this ties in with the theme of Vajrayana, because we are Vajrayana practitioners. And till now, whatever we've been doing is trying to understand how our mind works. And of course, it's said that when we are practicing, we are able to connect with our Buddha nature, and that gives us an opportunity. But the fact is, I feel that sometimes contemplation, reflection by yourself, whether you love the woods or you go into the, I was about to say you go into the ocean, you'll drown. When you go onto the beach, don't go into the ocean, you'll drown. When you go to a beach and you see the blue skies and the waves, and I believe sometimes even that gives us an opportunity to really connect with our own Buddha nature. Because I was once at Cape Cod. We were there and we were on the beach, and I'm a child of the 80s, so I had seen Jaws. So there's no way I'm going to get in that water. And then I saw a signboard that reconfirmed my fear. It says, beware of sharks, especially where there are seals. And if I get into the water, I'll be like a buffet for them. So I'm wise enough to know not to get anywhere close to that water. So I had sent them to go and explore. Said, you, I don't care, go do what you want. Me, I'm sitting here on this log. So I was sitting there and staring into the ocean, looking into the sky, and all of a sudden, as that awareness, yes, let's call it awareness. I don't know what else to call it. As I was aware of the water, the sky, the sound of the ocean, like a consistent white noise, As I was sitting there, I felt like my awareness was being observed by another awareness. Another awareness was aware of this awareness. So is that Buddha nature? I don't know. Perhaps it is, because then the sky and the water and my life, people, everything merged into one for me. So sometimes I wonder, I cannot be sure, was that the taste of my Buddha nature? I don't know. Perhaps it is, or I was just too emotional that day, or I was just scared of the sharks. But that's in the Vajrayana, that's what I'm saying is, do not set a goal for awakening. Don't let that be your goal. Because if you set a goal, you're setting yourself up for disappointments. Everything in the Vajrayana, in my experience, rises unnaturally. It rises naturally when least expected. I've sat through so many pujas, I've never had that feeling, honestly. So many pujas, I've never had that feeling. And then I realized I was going into the pujas with so much expectations. So when you don't have expectations, then everything arises as this new term that you use in America a lot, organically. Everything is organic. The reality is, America, when they say organic, it's not really organic. You know that? Still has pesticides, certain level of pesticides. As long as it's below that level, it's called organic. But this experience was really organic, spontaneous. I was not even doing practice. I was just scared of the sharks. And you're going to have those moments the Vajrayana, you're going to have those moments. When you go into a retreat, don't go in with expectations. When you do practice, don't practice with expectations. I feel, speaking from personal experience, it's just given. You need that spaciousness in your mind and that spaciousness in your heart for awakening to arise. When we do practice with our own selfish intentions, and that's why most of us always, that's what we practice for. It's, since honestly speaking, is really not for the benefit of any sentient beings. Maybe for some, like your loved ones and things, but it's always we want to awaken. I want my business to grow. Oh, my family is sick, But there's always, it comes down to selfish intentions, whether we realize it or not, whether we think we're being kind, or whether we think we're being kind or not. It always ties back to us, because there is a reason. But when you're able in the Vajrayana to practice with noble intentions, no expectations, then the blessing and the merit is really inconceivable. Then you can sit on a beach which is shark infested and still get that taste. I was so disappointed. I said, so many years I tried contemplating, I never understand. And I can't believe it just took Cape Cod for me to, I went there to eat the chips, actually, honestly. Really, because it's so famous for his chips. So for me, the most amazing results have been when everything has been done with no expectations, but really with pure intentions and a very pure motivation. We can sit here and I can tell you, time is short. It's going to be over soon. You all will never be able to understand the depth of what I'm saying. But when you are hit, I hope you're not hit with news of your own impermanence, whether you get sick, whether you have a terminal illness. I hope it doesn't take that for you all to realize what all these teachers have been saying to now. Vajrayana, we have to make it more accessible and understandable on a level where we are all collectively able to go, yes, that's what it meant. I can sit here and open a book and read out Dzogchen teachings to you, and what service will that be? Most of you will not connect with it. Maybe one or two of you will understand what I'm saying, but I will look really professional and good. Like I have so much wisdom and knowledge, which I don't. But we really have to cut the bullshit, really. And we have to be people, in those who sit on this chair, we have to be really honest, because you hold us to such a mythical heights and expectations and in awe, when we are also all human beings. We cry when we lose somebody. We get angry when we are provoked. So we are all human beings working on ourselves. Most of the people who sit on this chair, including myself, we pretend like we are above that, and we are not. Actually, as I've said so many times before, when you look at a teacher, you're looking at your own reflection. You're looking at your own Buddha nature. That's what you're looking at. If you're able to understand that, set. You don't understand that, then I don't know what. Something. You have to work on your practice. Work more on being a human being. The teachings you have received, you've received so many empowerments here. Rinpoche Thursday, you've received so many instructions, empowerments, words of wisdom, everything. But what does that mean to you? Really? Were you really able to understand what it all means? Because being on this path, as I said before, it's not about being a Buddhist, it's about evolving. Are these teachings that you've received, has it made you realize that perhaps you're doing certain things wrong, that you need to evolve from where you are just now or where you've been before? Are you evolving? Are you changing? Are you becoming a more kind and understanding human being? Are you working with your pain? Are you seeing the wisdom and how to transform all the obstacles you're facing into something that will be advantageous, will be, what you call it, will be, use it as an advantage to further your understanding? Are you more compassionate? Are you more loving? Are you able to be in harmony with your brothers and sisters, Vajra brothers and sisters? These are the measures of how your practice is going, how these teachings are being received. In the Vajrayana, more than anything else, be truthful to yourself, if not to anyone else. At least to yourself, be truthful. And when you're truthful to yourself, you're able to purify all of the shortcomings that you may have, and you're able to change and transform. Because on this path, if you're not truthful to yourself, if you think, oh, I'm a kind, loving person, everybody loves me, I don't irritate anybody, I don't know what they're doing, and you're pointing the fingers at everyone else but not taking responsibility yourself, then this path is useless. Because what Vajrayana is teaching you is to face these negative emotions and afflictions that you have and to see how to transform them, right? In the end, what does it boil down to when we die? Really, what does it boil down to? It's not about have you been a good practitioner. I'm sure you have. If you've been in 6 years, that's a good practitioner. You know, if you've attended so many empowerments, that's a good practitioner. But in the end, what it boils down to is how good of a human being have you been? How human have you been? That's what Vajrayana is about. It's to connect with your Buddha nature. That's your humanity. That's our humanity. That's what it is. Have you been able to connect with your Buddha nature? Have you been able to understand the essence of your own true nature? Even if you haven't been able to connect with that nature, at least the essence itself, have you tried? Have you made an effort? Have you reflected what you have learned? Love and compassion. Yes, you've learned it, but have you been able to reflect that towards others? That's what it boils down to. And no matter who we are, whether we are Rinpoches or we hold the titles of Lama or even something more fancier than that, in the end, we are all accountable for our own actions. It doesn't matter who we are when we die and transition. And in the end, everything that we do, everything that we have done is actually for that very moment. I always say, I am not afraid of dying myself. Honestly, I'm not. But I am afraid of how I'm going to die. That is the thing. Because dying, we're all going to die. Every moment we live in denial of it, but we're all going to die. So that is not what I fear. What I fear is how is that going to come? But what's most important is that at that moment, you will realize that all of what you thought was important, not important at all. All that you think was not important will be important. So when you die, you cannot die with a lot of regrets in your heart. With the least regret possible, we have to transition. Therefore, when I always say, treat everybody with kindness, dignity, love, and compassion, no matter who they are, the message that really comes from my heart. Because I've seen so many people die without being able to have resolved the hate and the anger. And those who are left behind have so much regrets that they were not able to resolve that with the deceased person, the loved person as well. So I'm saying, have your fights, no problem, but move on the next day. Sit on the table, have breakfast together, go out to Starbucks, have your latte and all these fancy chais that you all have. Do that. Learn to forgive, learn to move on. If you're able to understand that, then your Vajrayana path will be very meaningful. It's not just about receiving empowerments and high teachings and doing your Dzogchen practice. It's not just about that. There's so many aspects, but the most is the essence of all of that, and the most important really boils down to bodhicitta and the manifestation of bodhicitta, which is really genuine love and compassion for everybody that you meet. If you can understand that, then whatever you do on this Vajrayana path, you'll really be motivated to do so for everybody. Right? Don't forget to hug each other. Tell one another you love him or her, your brother or sister, even your mother-in-law you hate. Hug her from time to time. She deserves it. Really do so. It's a joke, and I am so serious. Love everyone. This is what Vajrayana love is. It's a fearless form of love. Because why fearless? Because we love everyone without exception. That's why it's fearless. It's a love based on courage. It's a love also based on sometimes sacrifice, because we have to set our differences aside. We have to set so many things aside, our prejudices and everything. When you love fearlessly like this, then you're able to reap the benefits of your practice. Because you cannot go into a 6-year retreat and come out and choose who you want to love and who you don't want to love. What kind of a retreat have you gone into then? If you've gone into Shoma retreat, doesn't matter what kind of retreat, if you've gone into teachings, you've received empowerments, if you cannot love fearlessly, then what is the use of your practice? You pick and choose. Love in the Buddhist Vajrayana sense does not discriminate. When you're able to love everyone, regardless of who they are, that means you really have understood the essence of what Vajrayana is about. It includes everyone. It's also, as we say, always Semchen Tamchen means all sentient beings without exception. That is the essence of what Vajrayana is. There's no discrimination also, whether you're a woman or whether you're a man. You know that there is no realization without the female principle in Vajrayana. So if you ladies disappear from this world, we are done. If we're only men left on this planet, we're finished. You understand that? I think there is no discrimination. That's why it's a profound kind of love. It's a special kind of love. It's not the ordinary kind of love. That is what the essence of the Vajrayana is. It's all inclusive. Doesn't matter who you are. Do you all have any questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, just drop it. No problem.
When you do the thinking and you didn't really touch on a situation I'm living today because I have a neighbor.
Oh no. featured on neighborhood wars.
And we longtime friends. He also has a problem with his body that he's in a wheelchair, so I always would help him. But he would let me park in his place. One day parking issue. So then I left the car too long. Making a long story short, we always have a kind relationship, and for one time he didn't tell me anything, but he just exploded, and he was very mean and used like very strong language with me, and it very hurt because I have so much expectation and I help him and I like try to develop compassion for him, and so now I'm trying to forgive him. Immediately, I never am angry with him back or nasty. I try my best, but now I'm in a process of trying to forgive him, but I'm kind of going slow. And you're talking about being like so fearless, and I wonder, I'm like, maybe I should buy him Starbucks or like bring it to his house.
Or you take a basketball and dribble in front of him and run back and forth to show. Make him feel more bad. Whenever you help, this is again, we're human beings, and again, I said we have expectations. But usually when you really want to help somebody, you don't have expectations of them either ever thanking you, or just do it because you're a Vajrayana practitioner, or you feel like you're a good human being. It doesn't matter what. You don't have any expectations of reward from them, because your actions will have such inconceivable blessings and merit. There's no need to have them, to expect them to come and thank us or deliver us a flower. Sometimes people open the door for others, they walk in, they don't thank them, and they get upset. Oh my God, I opened the door for him, he didn't thank me. That means you didn't open the door for the concern for that person. You just wanted to be validated that you're a good person. You see? Another thing is he's on a wheelchair. So understand, sometimes people that are in pain cannot control their emotions because they're suffering. So you have to think of yourself first and see how blessed you are. You can run if you want. You can play basketball if you want. He cannot. So try to understand where he's coming from. It may be his fault. Maybe his fault totally because you were kind to him, but you have to understand you're in a position where he cannot be in. So from that point of view, and also understanding that there's not a single being that you meet that doesn't suffer. I don't care how many times they post on Instagram, and even the Kardashians are in pain, I'm telling you. So Kim Kardashian, Kanye West, it doesn't matter. Look at them. If they were not in pain, they wouldn't go through all that bullshit, would they? There's not a single one of us that's not in pain. But those who are especially sick, vulnerable, and especially, like in the wheelchair, they are more so in pain than us. So you just have to understand that, approach him, and let it be. And why the hell are you parking in front of his driveway? He's handicapped, goodness sake.
He always, because we're friends, he doesn't have a car. So we always say, you can park in my place. Because that's kind of a relationship. He wants to also be kind, But then my father, it just happened that my father's car was also in the house, so I ended up leaving it many days.
And he didn't communicate until he was like up to here. He didn't say like, hey, your car's been too many days or something like this. Then he just exploded. But he said sorry and that I'm in a lot of pain and many things are happening and all this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My point. many things are happening, realize that, don't forgive him slowly. For goodness sake, you're a Vajrayana practitioner. What an embarrassing thing to say. You're supposed to be fearless. So go and approach him and make your peace and tell him, I feel like I'm on Oprah actually. What's wrong? It's not. I feel like I'm a fat Asian version of Oprah. Giving you things. So
Thank you.
go and apologize and make your peace with him. Make it snappy. This life is short. Goodness sake. Lord, have mercy, really. Okay? Commit to it. He's suffering. Just think of that.
Okay.
When you practice, include him in your prayers and approach him and talk to him. Just apologize. Be the better person. That's what it takes. Well, then it'll be fine. Right?
Thank you, Pachi. Thank
You want to talk about any marriage problems or anything also?
you. Not
No.
today.
Not today. Anyone else? Then let me ask you all, how are you all doing as a Sangha? Good? All of you? Tired? Tired, yes. Yes. Isn't it amazing how we spiritually manipulate people? And say, come, the walk is so easy, come to our center. Join me for the benefit of all sentient beings. And we make it sound it's going to be an easy walk. And then you realize you're climbing mountains, never ending mountains. That's what centers are. And those of you sincerely here working for the center, you really have my admiration and sincere love and gratitude to all of you, because it's not easy. Because you all have your own personal issues that you have to deal with, and yet you have to contend with the issues that come up, not just for the center, to make sure that it is flourishing, to make sure that everything is going as expected, but then you have to deal with the Sangha. And sometimes we as a Sangha don't realize the ones that are in charge, what they're going through. And we are quick to point fingers and blame them for being nasty. Not anyone can be happy 24 hours a day. Sometimes they may snap at you. Sometimes they may be upset with you and they may show it. But you've got to be forgiving. You've got to be understanding. And in the same regard, for those of you who are in charge, you all are held to a higher expectation than the rest, because you are in a position of power. And therefore, there are so many people looking up to you, and you are also representing the lineage, your Tsawi Lama as well. And therefore, you cannot be short-tempered, you cannot be snappy. I mean, you have to try your best not to let your personal issues interfere when you're working for the center, when you're coming here to work or volunteering to work, because you also represent the Buddha Dharma more so than the people that are coming. Because if you're in the position of the staff, board, everything, that means that the Rinpoche has had special kind of trust in you, in your capabilities, or the Rinpoche may have had a dharmic connection with you in the previous lifetime. Therefore, in this lifetime, he's again places trust in you. So you all also have a higher responsibility to be more patient, because it's a stressful work. It's a work where you're not going to be thanked a lot or even recognized for all the sacrifices that you have made. But you do it for one reason, And you do it because for your love of your Tsawe Lama. That's what you do it. You do it for one reason, is also for devotion along with that love. That's why you serve. And that's why you're here. That's why you're serving. And that's what's important. So for those Sangha member here, Sangha member in my own Yishiningpo, and all, for those all Sangha members that are listening, very important to understand being in a position of service, especially in the Dharma Center, is not easy, because everything looks amazing and smooth, but behind all of this wonderful tankas and events and so forth and so forth, there are a lot of sacrifices that staff members make, those who volunteer in the Buddhist centers make, that you don't get to see. Therefore, you have to have an understanding as well and appreciate what is being done, because we Sangha members, sometimes you all just come for tzok, and when the tzok is over, you go and leave. But there are those that have to set it up, arrange it, clean afterwards. It takes a lot of effort, collective effort, to make these things happen, and it happens behind the scenes. You don't get to see it. Therefore, you don't fully appreciate it. So, as people in position of power and people responsible for the center, and those Sangha who come and support the center, whether you come here to do your practice or in various ways, however you support each other, always have that understanding so the Sangha is harmonious. When the Sangha is harmonious, the center really flourishes. When you're not harmonious, then it starts to disintegrate. So understand that. Usually, whichever centers I visit, nobody talks about this aspect. Be grateful. Even if the person who's in charge snaps at you or things like that, don't take it to heart. Because you don't know what they're doing. You don't know the stress that they're going through. When we got the responsibility to run a center, people looking from outside would have never imagined the amount of stress that we all went through. Myself, Lama Pema, Lövin Lulu, all my crew, into ensuring that the center flourishes and putting the interests of the center way ahead of our own. The sacrifices that we make with our families, our loved ones, the amount of time that we spend in the centers, that we lose time to have family gatherings and things. It's painful. It's really painful, deeply painful, the sacrifices we have to make. As a collective Sangha together, you have to understand that these people in position, whether they're the board members or staff members, are sacrificing a lot. It's not like in the East, you have so many people coming to help. To have a center in the West and running a center, it's difficult. Everybody, I promise you, who's working here or in my center has to make a lot of sacrifice. So realize that sometimes. Also, you'll be patient with the people in charge. Another funny thing I see is some people come to the center, then they never show up because they don't like this person, they don't like that person. That's nonsense. I've said this a million times. You're coming to the center for your own transformation, not to transform anybody else. That's not your duty. Come here for your own transformation. Be responsible for your own transformation. There's no such thing as a Dharma police or a court. You're not a judge. You're not the jury to judge anyone or pass judgment on anyone. If you cannot face someone in your Sangha and you refuse to come here because of that, if that is considered an obstacle to your practice, can you imagine when you really are faced with an obstacle, what are you going to do? So have resilience, really, have courage, and don't let your devotion waver. And don't let anybody come in between that devotion that you have with your Tsawi Lama and the center. This is very important. Okay? Any other questions? Well, I'll talk for hours and hours, and then then he'll talk about his other neighbor, and then this will really become like an Oprah. Make it an easy question.
So Rinpoche, earlier today, you were talking about Poa and saying Lama can know. So for example, sometimes I can think of Rinpoche and my mind might open up more. Other times, maybe not so much. And then another component to that is I took Rinpoche's picture when I visited my mom. I told many stories. And now sometimes she's looking, oh, I like looking at Rinpoche's picture and so on. And she says, oh, sometimes I talk with him. And so, I feel, and she's met him. So there's a connection there for her. So maybe this kind of idea of Lama can know, or recalling the kindness of Lama, however we have to do it, especially when death approaches, how can we be most effective to ensure that our faith will blaze and then there really will be that kind of connection?
I really don't know if your faith is going to blaze. It may sparkle a little bit, but it will not fizzle out, but it's not going to blaze, no. Excuse me. No. In that regard, what I was talking about is you all are here in the West. Be practical with your practice, especially to the Western students here. And to all of us who live here in the West, be practical. You all put so much emphasis on certain practices and you let it take over your life, like I was saying. Like to all of the people who are doing poor practices intensely, it's really good that you're doing poor practice and it's visualization and what is needed. But we are living in a modern world. We step out of the center, we can get hit by a bus. As I said, your poor visualization is not going to work. Good luck. Inverted boom. Be practical. Do a simple form of Guru Yoga. And I don't want to use this word because I'm being taped live, so I have to watch my words, because when I was in Pema Usaling, when I went to the kids' retreat, they said, Rinpoche, it's PG-13. And I said, okay. So, as I've said this many times, be practical. You all have the freedom to reason, to think, to contemplate, to understand. It is good to do practices, and whatever practice that you do, it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're doing some kind of thorough accumulation or you're doing the poor practice, but don't make that don't think that's going to save you in circumstances. But if you just do a simple form of Guru Yoga, which is very practical, you get up in the morning, you Jatro Rinpoche, Keno, Karmapa Keno, Tenjum Rinpoche Keno, or Chapsicho, Tenjum Rinpoche Chapsicho. If you cultivate that habit when you get up, if you cultivate that habit before you go to sleep, then when a bus is about to hit you, what's the natural reaction going to be? Rinpoche Keno, Jatro Rinpoche Keno, Karmapa Keno, Rinpoche Keno, or Tenjum Rinpoche Chapsicho. And so if you're getting up every morning going, oh shit, this shit, that shit, that shit, when the bus is going to hit you, what are you going to say? Oh shit. And you're going to be in shit, right? That's the truth. That's what I'm saying. as Buddhist Vajrayana practitioners, we also have to be practical, because we are not, I said before, we are not in Tibet. Back then, as I said, riding the horse, maybe we'll fall off the horse, we'll roll down the mountain into, at least it's a beautiful scenery before you die. You're seeing all the snow-covered peaks. And yes, you may be inspired to do your visualization. Then as you're rolling to your death, it's not the same. Times have changed. The world has changed. In New York City, every crossing of the street is dangerous. If buses are not going to hit you, taxis are going to hit you. If taxis are not going to hit you, the bicyclists are going to hit you. I mean, you're going to be hit no matter what. Where do we have the luxury to think of visualization? But at the same hand, I'm not diminishing the practice. Please don't get me wrong. I'm saying, in addition to the practices that you do something that is practical, that we can use, where we don't need to think much, but to react in a dharmic way. It doesn't matter what it is, because even all the visualization practices that you do on death and dying, no matter how many times you may read the Tibetan Book of the Dead about the Bardo practice to understand it, even when you're sick and you're in the hospital and you're being pumped with so much drugs, but if you cultivate the habit of just thinking of your Tsawi Lama, thinking of Guru Rinpoche, it doesn't matter, think. Your first reaction, even before they pump the blood or when you're in pain, is you're going to be calling out to them. And when that call is heard, you're not going to be abandoned. There's no way they're going to abandon you. But if you're relying so much, and I'm sorry, sometimes I know it sounds like I'm saying practices are useless. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying be practical. Use your common sense. You all keep on asking questions. When I die, what kind of practice will it do? How do you know you're going to be doing practice? Even in the air, if you're dying in an air crash, do you think you'll be thinking of doing the malam? You'll be screaming, I don't want to die. That's what reality is. Be realistic. So in addition, that's what I say, not to diminish any practice, adopt and cultivate these little things. It doesn't take time, few seconds, but you train your mind to react in a dharmic way. If you keep on cursing, you'll die cursing. You'll get hit by the bus cursing. That's the fact of life. Really. So my point there was, think for yourself and don't rely too much on practice. Like, have confidence in your practice. Of course, there's merit to it, but don't be so sure you'll be doing this practice when you're dying, because you don't know how you're going to die. That's the truth. We know we're going to die. We just don't know how we're going to die. If you have a terminal illness, sure, then have how many ever days, months you have left, you can do your practice. If you're going to be hit by a bus or by a food truck in New York, a hot dog stand, whatever, then what? So, as Buddhists, Vajrayana practitioners, also be practical. Don't rely too much on your practice as in at the moment of death. I mean, don't put all your eggs in one basket, literally. Therefore, I always tell people, if nothing else, please do the Ngondro. Whatever it is, it's like your life insurance. You don't have to make it a cumulative practice. Even if you don't do Ngondro as a cumulative practice, do it as a foundational practice, it has everything. It has bodhicitta, it has refuge, it has purification, it has guru yoga, it has power, it has dedication. It's like a life insurance. Why don't you want all those insurances? I mean, and it's free. You don't even have to pay for it. So why won't you use something that's available to you because of the kindness and the compassion of the teachers who revealed that? We have the Tessa Wondro, Short Wondro, we have the Nyingtik Wondro. Use that as a daily practice instead of doing all accumulations in one practice. Do the Wondro, it can be 5 minutes, it can be 3 minutes, it can be however long you want, however short you want. Because Döngyum Rinpoche, in his infinite compassion that he had for beings, especially for you, those students in the West, he has compressed so many practices into 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines. Even the Wondro, to some, the Dharmapala is in 2 lines. If Rinpoche is giving you that gift, use that. Because that, in the end, is like an insurance for you, really. So that's what I meant to say, is be practical and don't get upset by me saying this to you all, but sometimes we get lost in our own practice. Don't do that. Don't get lost. If you get lost in Buddhism, if you get lost in the Vajrayana, it's very difficult to climb back out of that. And there are so many of you, and I could be wrong, and it's my own maybe flawed perception also. That also could be it, but so many of you are lost in the Vajrayana, but you think you're doing an amazing thing. But the fact of the matter is, as I said so many times, we don't know how we're going to die. And therefore, be tactful, be skillful, adopt things that will really help. That doesn't mean you have to abandon other practices. Just add Guru Yoga is important. That's why every Rinpoche that you meet will tell you the importance of Guru Yoga, how important it is. Because in the Vajrayana, some people have a pushback, but without a guide, really, you don't want to go and walk into the redwoods. Like, I wouldn't be so stupid, foolish enough to walk into the forest without a guide, would I? Would you? No. Why would you be foolish enough to not seek a guide on the Vajrayana path? It's vast, it's never ending. Even one lineage we won't be able to complete in 2 lifetimes. We really think about it. But the best thing is here, you at least, you had a wonderful, amazing person to guide you. Take advantage of that. Not many people have that. These days, everybody's reading self-help books and self-guided Vajrayana books. But Vajrayana is not just about studying books, reading books. It's about your own experience. That's what Vajrayana is about. You all will have your own unique experience. You will have a unique experience. You will have a unique experience. You will have a unique experience. It's not going to be the same. And you will be able to taste your own Buddha nature. Again, according to your own circumstances and causes and conditions that surround you. Not everybody is going to experience the same thing. I experienced it, as I said, in Cape Cod with the sharks. You'll experience it in the swimming pool. Maybe when you're eating back in the Thai food, or what we eat today, tom kha kai, while eating that soup, mushroom, you'll be like, wow, I think I just tasted my Buddha nature. And that's the beautiful thing about Vajrayana is it's your own experience. No one will have the same experience. And it's not always about books in Vajrayana. It is actually about creating the grounds for your awakening to happen. And that can only be done based on bodhicitta. You really have to sweep the floor, really, of all the dirt and of all the obstacles and of all the things that are preventing you from connecting with your Buddha nature. That has to be swept. And how do you sweep that? It's based on bodhicitta, based on love, based on compassion. And once you're able to sweep that away, then you'll be able to look at the tile, the original tile. And when you're able to look at the original tile, that is your Buddha nature. But unless you sweep that, no matter what you do, no matter how many retreats you go to, no matter how many accumulations you accumulate, you're going to sink further and further into confusion and ignorance and delusion. And you're going to have the false sense of thinking that you're a great practitioner. Even the fact, if you ever think you're a great practitioner, you're an idiot, no matter who you are. If you think I'm a great practitioner, you're fucked. Really. Absolutely fucked. Really. Better get out of there as quickly as you can from that mindset. So that's what is. And the only thing that can really create the grounds for your awakening is really love. Honestly, that's what you need. Without that, you cannot, absolutely not understand your Buddha nature. Absolutely not. So whatever it is, as simple as it sounds, work on that, and everything you do will have so much meaningful results. But you disregard that aspect and always chasing after Dzogchen, going for your meditation classes and even your yoga classes and God knows what other classes you go to, be able to taste your own. Okay, any more questions? Yep.
Well, for me, thanks, Bill. I already talked pretty loud though.
I vouch.
For me, doing practice over many years and it has made me feel so much devotion for my teachers. But I can see in one way how just being so deeply into this idea that practice is the only thing that's transformative. I mean, in some ways, of course it's transformative, but so is everything in life.
You have to understand that the manifestation of devotion is not just through practices. It is also through your actions. It doesn't matter how, what it is, you know. Going to see your sick friend is the manifestation of your practice. That's also a manifestation of practicing the Dharma. Lending a ear to somebody who's suffering and in depression or is in a state of emotional pain is the manifestation of practice. It's not just about really chanting, sitting, and meditating. It is also how it is manifested physically. So when I sometimes say getting lost, don't get lost in the Dhammas, don't think just by sitting here and doing your practice or doing the Tsok together with the Sangha is the only way to practice. That's not the only way. Doing Tsok, coming collectively, doing practice here and thing, that's a form of paying a karmic debt also to all the sentient beings, because this is the only one way that we can honestly pay back our karmic debts to all the beings that we have a connection with. But in this relative sense, there are other ways of also expressing the Dharma. And that's what it is. People get lost. They think all I have to do is pray and I don't have to go out and be kind and helpful to my fellow brothers and sisters that are in the Sangha because I'm a practitioner. You're lost. See, in that sense, you're lost. It's not all about practice. It's about the body, speech, and mind. Fine, you've gotten the speech and mind deep in practice. What about your body?
Mhm.
You're in the relative world, there's relative suffering. Go out, cultivate the generosity of not just giving, but the generosity of listening, generosity of being there, generosity of being as a pillar of support for somebody who's going through a crisis. That is Dharma in action. That is another manifestation of your practice. It just doesn't end with the dedication prayers. It is a state which we all cannot be aware of consistently, that awareness to help other beings that are in pain. Yes, it's impossible because we are selfish also. And sometimes we realize our own pain and suffering, but it's very difficult to see other people in pain or even to recognize that they're in pain. So don't get lost means don't think this is the only way of doing soaks, doing pujas, doing your morning ritual water bowl offerings. You've got 2 hands, 2 legs. Go out, help others in whichever way you can, according to your own capacity. I mean, you don't have to be Mother Teresa, don't have to be, no one's asking you to be Mother Teresa or anything like that. But at least go and make a difference in someone else's life, even if it's just one human being. Oh, and that's called your practice that continues. People always say, how do I maintain this state of awareness? Go help. Go help. Then you're manifesting the Dharma in other ways as well. And then it becomes such a natural part of you that you won't even realize that you're doing that sometimes. But then again, I have to put a caution here for all of you. Don't be a doormat. Again, do the best that you can, and that's it. But don't let people walk over you. This is bullshit. Some of you come and say, oh, I'm a Buddhist. He keeps on shouting at me, but it's okay. I view him as a teacher. Bullshit. You got to set your boundaries because you're also important. What about yourself? Love yourself also. Protect yourself as well. I don't believe in this idea of Buddhists. Oh, let them scream, let them be abusive to me. I'm a practitioner. I'm such a, or whether I'm a high practitioner or I'm just a normal practitioner, but this is the Buddhist way. I'm not going to defend myself. That's not Buddhism either, because you are also as important as that person. So, sometimes when people scream, put a stop to it, set your boundaries, don't be a doormat. That is also important because, again, people misunderstand the message. They think being Buddhist is all about meditating and letting people do whatever they want. That's also not true. But if because if you let people walk over you and you're not happy, it'll affect every aspect of your life, including your practice also. So also take care of yourself, guard yourself. That is also important. And you do the best you can, because I meet so many people. I cannot spend one time with, whether it's with Scott or anybody. I can't stay here, or for the matter, you also, and hold your hands and be here with you, eat with you, take showers with you. That would be a sight, isn't it? Rinpoche is coming to shower as well. I cannot be there always. But what I can do is, even for the brief moment that we're here together, whether we're here now for 1 hour, I don't know, 1 hour, 30 minutes, or I give you 3 minutes of my time, or we're here together for 10 seconds, at that moment, at least I can give you all the love that I have, treat you with the utmost respect, with dignity and the kindness. That's what I can do to each and every single one of you that I meet. And that's what you can do to each and every single one that you meet. And that's all we can do. Whether we meet again or whether we never meet again, perhaps in the next lifetime. But having done that, you take a part of an experience that will stay with you. Because no matter what, you'll say, oh, at least my experience having interacted with Namgyal Rinpoche or was a good one, pleasant one. I really enjoyed it, appreciated it, and it will stay in your heart. And that's what you can do also with others. We cannot give everything to everyone. There's too many people, but at least the ones that we meet, at least for that moment, we can give them all our love and understanding. This is important. So if you ask me as a Vajrayana practitioner, how do I deal with people? That's how you deal with people as a Vajrayana practitioner. You give all the love and compassion you have. If that person is there talking to you, even for 10 seconds, even that waiter that drops your food, plates your food for you, even the taxi driver that you meet, that you're in a taxi for that brief moment, whatever it is, really give them all the love that you have. Treat them with compassion, treat them with kindness, treat them with respect. And that's what a Vajrayana practitioner should be doing. Never look down on someone either. And especially amongst yourselves, Vajra brothers and sisters, when you meet especially. Because Vajra brothers and sisters are considered blood connections. Us, we, sisters and brothers, us in the Dharma, we are blood, connected by blood. The rest of the people who are not in the Vajrayana are still our brothers and sisters, but they are far distant cousins. But still to be treated equally with love and respect. As Vajrayanas, practitioners, that's what you can do. Everyone that you meet, have the conscious, not just realization, but make a conscious effort to be kind. Even if you're having the shittiest day, even you're having the worst day, but whoever you meet, at least don't let that come into that situation. Because for me, of course, the first person I meet in the morning, by the time the last person I meet in the evening, it's good. I'm dead tired. I just want to sleep, close my eyes, I don't want to listen to anything. But yet, I will treat that person just like how I treated the first person that I talked with when I woke up. Exactly with the same enthusiasm, everything the same. Because I'm making conscious effort. That's what you all have to do, making conscious effort, no matter who you meet. And that's what Vajrayana being a practitioner is about. Now I'm sure you all don't want to ask me questions, so I'll go on for another hour. Yes.
It's a follow-up to what you've just been talking about. So the lamas or practitioners who go off and practice for 20, 30 years in isolation, can you speak to the benefit of that?
For them, whatever it is, you have to understand one aspect is all the practices that they do, that they dedicate, benefits all of us. Those who go into 3 years, 6 years, 7 years, sometimes they even when I was in Bhutan, there was a teenager who went in at 13, and yet at 21, he was still in practice. Those who are in practice and retreat like that, we have to understand this is important. That's why if they are retreatants, please support them in whichever way you can, no matter which part of the world they're doing retreating, because the amount of, sitting here for 3 hours, we cannot even do it. It's even in the talks I complain sometimes when it's over 5 hours can you imagine people in retreat for 3 years, forget 3 years and even 7 years, 12 years? But whatever it is, all the effort that they put in, of course, they are trying to connect and understand what their mind is. They're trying to connect with the Buddha nature when they're going into the retreat. So they gain a depth of understanding, not just understanding, but also the experience of being in a retreat that opens up a wider kind of realization there. But the amazing thing about these people in retreat is, if they're really in retreat, that is, I've always said before, sometimes 10 people go in, sometimes 11 people come out. That's another kind of retreat that you don't want happening. But those genuinely who are in retreat, that's why that's a good question. I urge you to support them, because the dedication prayer that they do at the end of their practice in the retreat, we benefit from that. All of us, we benefit from that. There's so much blessing in there for the people in the retreat. So if you can support those who are going into retreats in whichever way you can, I really urge all of you, please support these people. Are you planning on going into a retreat? Okay. Too difficult. Difficult. Anything else?
Sort of fit into what was coming up for me was that all of us coming here tonight we share karma with each other. We're here. When I get on an airplane with 200 other people, there's some shared karma there. If the airplane crashes, there's some really deep, much more deep shared karma there, because we've all died in that crash together, let's say, at that particular time. So when I'm thinking about the teaching and all of that, what was coming up for me is there's teaching, and there are things that I read and things I go and hear and so on that help astoundingly just to make those connections, because I'm reaching out. And then there's that other part of teaching that has to do with beginning to realize a couple of things and how they fit together and so on, us being here. And when I'm eating, and I'm thinking deeply about the way through which that food has come to me. Whatever it is, 500 people were involved in putting shoes on my feet. 500 other people were involved in bringing that food, getting that food to my table, and so on. So the deep connection that we actually have, the karma in every little thing, is so deep and so vast that I just find tremendous comfort in that, and circumstances and how they turn out.
I've said many times, the Vajrayana point of view, there are no strangers. I've said that time and again. We've all met, we will all meet again. I may have been your fat wife in your previous life. I could have.
We'll talk about that later.
Later, yes. Unresolved issues, alimony. I'm still expecting that. You left 5 children. But that's what I'm saying. We are connected with all beings. There's no such thing as strangers. It doesn't exist. We've met so many times. We'll meet in all the realms again so many times. And another good point you bring up is that's what it is. As a Vajrayana practitioners, we don't just look and see a paper. We have to see the tree. We have to see the leaves. We have to see the sunshine, the water that's contained. That's what a Vajrayana practitioner would think. Like, you just don't see. I always say, when I look at when Lama Pema comes here and he's looking at this and going, oh wow, look at this. This is amazing. This is beautiful. I see pain. the amount of pain people went through, suffering to get this, that's what I see. And that's what you should see as well. And that's why always remember the interconnectedness of all things. That's very important to have that awareness of. But one aspect of the Vajrayana that we do is because we human beings, we cling. Compulsively, really we cling to our emotions. That compulsive clinging is what needs to be released in order to find joy and happiness. That is one of the reasons why I say is that Vajrayana is a path of evolving. It is about slowly removing our claws from these things. Now, for instance, emotional pain, of course, it hurts us. We've all gone through our own trauma in our own way. We've experienced it, right? But we will never understand when Vajrayana says that pain, that thing you're feeling, which is of the past, is just your thought. It's nothing but your thought. No matter if she slapped me today, and if I'm still thinking about it and getting angry the next day, now it's my own thought. And my attachment, compulsive attachment to that thought that is causing the suffering is no longer her. Her action is done. Vajrayana actually is teaching you, let go of these clinging to these thoughts that have no power, but you give it the power. When you're able to let go of that clinging, then purification will be very easy. And all our practices that we do till the moment we die is about purification. That is the clinging that we really need to, all of us, we really need to contemplate on. Always, everything hurt of the past is just a memory. No matter what your father did, no matter what your brother did, no matter what your teacher did, all the injustices that you may have suffered, you have the right to be angry. Of course, you have all the right to be upset. But the Vajrayana is telling you that the practices that do, what we're trying to tell you is that these emotions and memories and experiences that we have, it has no power over you. But the moment you cling to it, you're fueling that power. You're throwing gasoline in the fire yourself. And let it go. When we're able to let it go, I don't even know why I'm talking about this because of your airplane thing. I'm so confused myself. But okay, anyways. But, to let it go. Are you emotionally? Maybe we were husband and wife in a previous life. Maybe I have some resentment towards you. So I don't know why I'm talking about. I was just thinking to myself, why am I talking about this to him? That's not the question he asked. But maybe. But it's good you think like that. I'm very happy that you're able to have the awareness of how all things are interconnected. This is as a Vajrayana practitioner, this is very important. The only problem is that we don't have that capacity to maintain that awareness, So, and let me just answer this question before anyone of you ask. The next question will be, how do you maintain that awareness? It's difficult, but if you have gratitude in everything that you do, you will be able to maintain that awareness. Even if you go out, you go to a restaurant and you eat the most undelicious, most horrible burnt food, but you have the gratitude that you were able to recognize that the food was burnt and bad tasting, and you had that opportunity like others don't. These little things will sustain that awareness in you. So have gratitude for the good experiences as well as have gratitude for the bad experiences. Because if you two scream as a couple at each other, you two fight at that moment, fine. Once you finish fighting, be grateful you had the opportunity to fight, that your partner was alive, that you could scream at her, and that you're alive, that your partner could scream at you. Have gratitude at least, that you were able to have that fight, because one day, one may leave earlier, one may leave later, you will not have that opportunity. So when you find gratitude in everything, in the good experiences and the bad experiences, you'll be able to really, I should be charging you guys $500 each for this one. I seriously should be charging $500 each for this one. You'll be able to maintain that. Remember, I gave this to you for free. Never forget that. You'll be able to maintain that awareness always. At the beginning, it's going to be difficult. You have to train yourself in everything that you do. Even if you get stuck in the traffic, you're going somewhere, be grateful that you have the opportunity to get stuck in the traffic. Because some people don't. Those who have terminal illnesses don't have that opportunity. So having gratitude for all kinds of experiences is actually the secret to maintaining the awareness. Okay, anything else? He's scared now. Because I will out him as well. Thank you so much. Really, I'm really happy to be here, and thank you so much for your warmth and kindness. Thank you for lending me the car to go. I need to go. It saved me a lot of money. But jokes aside, I'm very happy that I was able to make this connection with you, and I hope we keep this connection going on. And if there's anything that you all need, that anything that we can do, don't hesitate to let us know. I'll try to do my best to be there for all of you. And I believe you all are going to have Khenpo Tsawang Rinpoche coming here and giving you all empowerments. So I'm very happy to hear that he's a very, very extraordinarily a wonderful, wonderful person. And he holds a lot of wisdom as well, and is a container of knowledge. So don't forget to squeeze that out of him as much as you can when he's here. Thank you.